Coming up next, Spokane Public Schools Board of Directors take your questions on educating Spokane. Welcome to Educating Spokane. I'm Terren Roloff. Tonight, our Board of Directors is taking questions about Spokane Public Schools. If you have a question, we hope you'll call the number on your screen or email or text us at es@ksps.org. We encourage you to share your name and phone number in case we need to get back to you if time runs short. Our guests from the Board of Directors are President Bob Douthitt.
Good evening, Terren.
Director Rocky Treppiedi.
Hi, Terren.
Director Deana Brower.
Hello.
And Superintendent of Spokane Public Schools, Dr. Nancy Stowell.
Hi, Terren.
Thank you all for being here this evening, and thank our viewers for being here as well. Deana, I'd like to welcome you. This is your first program.
It is. Thank you. It's nice to be here.
As a new Board of Directors. And Director Douthitt, maybe you'd like to give us an update on some news that folks might be interested in regarding the superintendent search.
Sure. Yeah, we're probably about a third of the way done with the search right now. Superintendent Stowell announced her retirement on December 14th, and last week, February 1st, 2nd, we had consultants out here interviewing hundreds of people really through 32 different focus groups. We had about 600 or more answers on our online survey, and we appreciate everybody who did give their input. We're going to get a report back on that this weekend, and then they're going to take that leadership profile that we finally come up with out and market the district to various candidates over the next month or month and a half. And then we'll be interviewing our finalists in mid-April and should have a decision by the end of April.
Yeah, it's a massive job to replace Dr. Stowell. Dr. Stowell's done a great job in shepherding us through many difficult issues. We've had, the person that's going to replace her is going to have to manage 50 schools, several thousand employees, about 28,000 students, a budget over $300 million a year, and on and on and on. I mean, there are many, many issues that confront our system, and we take it very seriously to make sure we find the right candidate for our community.
Mm-hmm. Our consultant let me know. I was one of the last folks to chat with him, I think, on the day that he interviewed, and he said that our community input was fabulous in terms of the number of people who attended and responded, and that will yield some great information to the board as we move forward and look for who will be the best candidate.
Well, I think you're to be commended for the diversity of those focus groups that were formed. You really cut across the entire community seeking input. So I think you will get a real representation of what this community wants in its next superintendent.
Yep.
All right. So we do have a few questions that have already come in, and we'll start with this one. I understand this is not a new levy, but a continuation of the existing levy. Of course, this person is referring to the levy that's coming up on February 14th. I recently received mail from a group saying this is a new tax. Please clarify.
Well, we can clarify it by saying it is not a new tax. I mean, it's that simple. This is a levy that's been in place for many, many, many years. It's been supported. It's received tremendous support, frankly, from the community for many years. By law, we have to go back to the community. It used to be every 2 years. Now we can do it every 4 years if we choose. And the cycle we've stayed with has been every 3 years now. So it's a continuation of an existing process, an existing levy that's been in existence for a long time.
The second question also has to do with the levy. Says, I received a flyer that said the state already pays for basic education. If that is true, why should I vote for this levy?
We all wish it were true.
Well,
Seriously.
yeah.
I
State
mean,
Supreme Court recently acknowledged in the McCleary case that our state is not fully funding and that more funding will be necessary, but in the meantime, our levy is protecting our current level of funding to close gaps where the state is not funding.
And the levy's grown to be about 25% of that $313 million budget. So it's a significant piece, and the reason the levy has grown to that amount is exactly what you said, Deana, is the state's not doing its paramount duty of funding not only basic education, but just not funding education generally for us. And we take reductions every single year. In fact, in 10 years, we've reduced $45 million in expenditures to try to tighten our belt and make sure that we are being good stewards of the public's money. But we're relying, interestingly enough, that 25%, it's been the predictable part of our budget because the state hasn't been predictable over the last few years.
And just by, you've been using 25%. When I first joined the board, it was about 15 or 16%.
Yes, that's right.
And as the state has shifted its focus away from education and funded other aspects of the state budget, it has failed, literally failed, to fully fund, properly and amply fund, as the Constitution says, basic education. So that's how our levy has really been used to backfill the state's responsibility. Right. So this is critical to us.
Yeah, I think you'd be hard-pressed to find any legislator that would contend that they're fully funding basic education. And as everybody else has said, the Supreme Court just recently said, hey, you're not funding basic education.
It was a
even if they were, though, even if basic education were being fully funded, the original intent of the levies was to fund extras that wouldn't be within that. So there's a part of that person's question that is, you know, even if education were being fully funded, yeah, there's a purpose for this levy, which is things like sports, things like all extracurricular activities, certain kinds of, well, right now the definition of basic education doesn't include art teachers, music teachers, librarians, guidance counselors. So all those things are not within the definition the state has been using as basic education, so those do depend on the levy no matter what.
But for years and years and years, our community has come to expect all those programs that you just listed, Bob. They expect that that is part of the education we provide in this district to make sure that our kids leave our schools ready to compete. So they're used to those kinds of programs, the art, the music, the librarians, the counselors.
And one question we often get in the community, it may even come across us tonight, is, well, how about the bond money? Don't you, you know, you get, the community has provided us with wonderful support for maintaining the buildings and so forth. But under the law, we have to use the bond money only for that purpose, which is for the building and maintenance, not for the teaching end of the programs.
That's right.
All right. Well, it seems that the levy is the topic of the night. How much of my levy money actually goes into the classroom?
Well, as we look at that levy piece, that 25%, almost 90% of that goes directly to the classroom. There's a small percentage now, I think it's 5.6%, that goes to extracurricular activities and clubs after school. Now, that used to be a little larger because you remember we used to have elementary extracurricular, but that's been reduced over the last few years. So well over, I would say around 90% of those levy dollars, which is about $73 million for us, actually goes to the classroom. And part of that includes some money that we're paying for special education for our ELL, our English Language Learner Program, that should be funded by the state but is not.
Right, the state and the federal government. And that amount of money that we've been paying from the levy to support those programs has risen each of the last few years, each of the last 10 years. So we rely on the levy for many, many support services for all of the students throughout the district.
And speaking of what is funded in the classroom, electives, for example, that's one thing I don't think you've mentioned yet, advanced placement kinds of electives.
Well, and I think when we talk about electives, the example I like to give is, let's say we've got We've got 35 students who want to be in a geometry class or an advanced calculus class. And that's probably the better example. And we have a class limit of 30. So what do? Do we tell 5 kids, I'm sorry, you can't take calculus? Of course we can't do that. And so we create 2 smaller classes, one of 17 and one of 18. And the state does not fund those smaller classes. So levy dollars pick those classes up, some of our small 3rd and 4th year world languages classes paid for out of the levy, some of our small science electives, new programs that we've put into practice, like Project Lead the Way, the biomed program that we have is paid for out of the levy. So those are some examples.
Yeah. Another good example is when we replace textbooks. The state's cycle for funding on replacing textbooks is 18 years, if you can believe that. So try using a history book that's 18 years out of date.
Try using any kind of
Yeah,
text, that's,
right.
yeah.
So we, as a board and as a district, have always looked at doing our best to making sure that we can update our materials as quickly as we can. That's levy dollars that helps us do that. We're coming into a phase where, not to bore everybody with details, but with Common Core standards coming on board within the next couple of years, and major curriculum changes throughout all of our K-12 system. Again, that's mandated by the state, but will the state provide the funding to help us get the materials for all of those changes throughout the curriculum? It's not there yet. Well, we're going to make sure that our students and our teachers have the right training and the right materials. We're going to have to rely on the levy dollars to help support that.
One other thing that I wanted to touch on, you mentioned class sizes for those kind of high school specialty kind of courses, but we also have to worry about class sizes, obviously, at the other levels, and the levy does allow for reasonable class sizes.
Right.
We've said that expression before, but you might want to explain what we're talking about with regard to reasonable class sizes.
Well, the way I look at it, and Dr. Stowell, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but if the levy failed, then there's all 23, 24% of our budget would go away. And I would say class sizes would probably be 23 or 24% bigger, and which that would be, if they're 25 now, then they'd be, I don't know, 30, 31 later. If they're 30 now, they'd be 36 later.
All right. Well, and our voters, passed initiatives to keep class sizes low, which our legislature has suspended. They're not funding the levels that our voters have asked for. We try to honor that through using levy funds to keep our class sizes as close to those numbers as possible. So it really, we are attempting to do what the state isn't providing and what the voters have asked for.
Any business out there that would suffer a 25% loss in revenue is going to, the bottom line is we would face significant layoffs. We wouldn't be looking at one teacher per school. We'd be looking at hundreds of teachers, for example, throughout the district. Now,
I think the
no
levy
such decisions like that
Right.
have been made, but it's obvious that the impacts would be dramatic.
And I think the levy is a minimum of 800 FTE, full-time equivalent teachers or staff in our district, so that would be pretty significant. You talk about reasonable, and we do have a collective bargaining agreement that we honor, and that says at the secondary, grades 7 through 12, 30 in a class. But absent the levy, as you explained, Bob, that would be significantly more. And we used to get state money for smaller class sizes at elementary, K3, K4, but all of that money is gone from the state, as well as what you said, Deana, the 728, the initiative money that our public voted for, our voters endorsed. So there really is no money now to maintain reasonable class sizes. We do it because we have the levy.
All right. My son, who has Asperger's, has been getting special help at Lidgerwood in the ADAPT program. Will that go away if the levy fails?
I'm not sure about the ADAPT program itself. The obligations to provide special education are a federal requirement. And so we would continue to comply with the requirements of that person's IEP, whatever those happen to be. But you know, as with anything, I'm sure it would be done in a less expensive manner somehow or another.
You know, we'd have to look at that. We'd have to look at, those classes are pretty small right now. We'd have to look at, could we add more students to those classrooms and do it maybe with an extra instructional assistant and then put more students in there. So those will be decisions we have to make. You know, when people ask what will happen if the levy does fail, it's just monumental when you start to look at the numbers of staff and what that could look like for class size and loss of programs for students, because it's such a significant part of our budget anymore. So,
and the IEP, just for those who aren't aware what that means, individualized educational plan.
And it is required by the federal government. We have to serve children who qualify. We don't have any choice about that. We wouldn't want not to serve them. It's just that the state and the federal government aren't fully funding the special education. It's coming out of levy dollars, so those dollars go away. We have to make some adjustments to all of our programs across the board.
I had the good fortune to, on a school visit recently, stop by and take a look in the ADEPT program, and I thought it was a remarkable program, and it would be a loss to students in our district whose needs are being met through that program, as any program offers. We really do need to make sure we're offering the best quality for all of our students in all of our schools.
We're underfunded on special education by about $5 to $6 million now.
That's right.
And so the levy now is about $60 million. So almost 10% of our levy goes to enabling us to provide the special ed programs.
And when you say our levy is about $60 million, you're right. I think about $61 million. And then what we get, because we're able to pass our levy in Spokane, is when we do that, we get state assistance called levy equalization, which is the way the state kicks in some extra dollars for us. It's about $14 million to reduce the tax burden, the property tax burden for our local citizens. So that takes us to about $74 million that's part of our budget then.
Yeah, probably I should just chime in on this part. This year, so Dr. Stowell mentioned local taxpayers pay 60, we get an extra 14 from the state, provided we pass our levy. That's the way the levy equalization works for that extra 14. Because at the time we had to say how much we were going to put on the ballot this year, at that time there were proposals to eliminate that levy equalization. We put an amount on the ballot that assumed that basically 2/3 of the levy equalization would be cut. And if it's not cut, then we'll continue to get the levy equalization, and the amount that we would get from the taxpayers locally would continue to be that 60. But the amount on the ballot's about 73, I think, which is sort of a absolute maximum. If levy equalization were to be cut, that could be the maximum that we could collect.
I think it's important to point out in that scenario is that you can't double dip, so to speak. Yeah. If the state funds the levy equalization, then we are not able to collect that maximum amount. We would collect less from our community, and there are safeguards in place legally to allow for that. It was an important contingency to include to maintain current levels of funding, but
and current programs.
And yeah. Current programs, but I think folks are that seems to be a part of the conversation that has come up, where folks want to know, wait, can you get it from both sources? And no, it's one or the other.
And the tax rate has confused folks too, because it is an estimate. That tax rate of $449, for example, is the worst case scenario. If the state legislature doesn't fund us at our current level, that's what folks would be paying. Hopefully, and we'll know here in a few months or a few weeks from the legislature, that they would continue to pay at the level we're at, and that folks' tax rate would be below that $4 as it is now.
It's about $389 right now, and that's what it would be projected to be if the state came through with levy equalization. Mm-hmm. So no real
ever
change.
Since that McCleary decision, which came out after we had to set the levy amount, because the McCleary decision, it was so crystal clear and unanimous to the legislature that they were underfunding their obligation. What we've gotten out of our talks with the legislators has been kind of an understanding that they're much, much less likely to be significantly cutting levy equalization, if at all. So
And our problem was we had to get this on the ballot for February 14th, and the legislature doesn't finish until the first week of March. So we were in difficult position. The board was in a difficult position, had to put something on the ballot, so without really knowing.
We have one more question that has been emailed or text in, and it is, why hasn't the school district challenged the property tax exemption given to apartment complexes and condominium developments? They represent a significant loss of revenue.
there's all kinds of exemptions. I was a former tax lawyer myself and worked on trying to utilize those exemptions for my clients as much as possible in those days. But you know, that particular exemption, I'm not exactly sure which one he's talking about. It could be that there's incentives given by, say, the county commissioners to develop certain large projects in town. Yeah, there's other exemptions. Sacred Heart Hospital just got, and other religiously affiliated hospitals just got won a case to get a large property tax exemption that affected our rates. So there are a number of exemptions, and I'd say any kind of, when you hear people talking about revenue enhancement or in the legislature, those people are talking about closing a lot of those exemptions. You can call them exemptions, you can call them incentives, you can call them loopholes depending on what your point of view is at the time. And so that's part of a big discussion.
Right, and we're not the tax collectors. It's the county that actually goes after that, and they end up paying us, what is it, twice a year?
There's another exemption that he's not referring to, but I think it is important to point out the exemption for senior citizens and disabled folks.
That's right.
And at a certain income level. So that would be something, if folks are concerned about, they might want to call the county assessor about that as well. All right, we've had a caller now asks, what is this STEM that I keep hearing about, or STEM?
Good question.
Well, STEM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics, and it's the idea that for our students to be adequately prepared, just adequately prepared, they need a strong background in math and science. And if we want them to compete, not just nationally, but internationally, as they'll have to do, then we want them to have a very strong background in mathematics and science. And so as we look at programs for our students K-12, we are building in more opportunities for students to have rich math and science experiences. And I think of the North Central Institute for Science and Technology that we've all seen, where students are doing actual research on real day-to-day problems that exist. The collapse of the honeybee colonies, some of those things. And that's the kind of experiences we're trying to provide for our students in Spokane Public Schools so that they can go on to four-year universities and continue in science, mathematics, engineering. That's the goal.
Okay.
I'd say there is one confusing aspect about that, and that different people use STEM with different meanings sometimes. And so sometimes it's used in the context that Dr. Stowell was talking about for preparing people who would go on to a high-level, like PhD type career in one of those fields. Other times you see the term used in for programs that may prepare somebody for a technological type career that would start soon after high school. So,
That's right.
So sometimes there's a confusion in that, but basically science, technology,
Provides
engineering.
lots of options for sure.
And one other factor is that when it comes to STEM, regardless of how it's defined or thought of, it's heavily supported by the community. Our local business community supports various STEM programs. The legislature provides special funding for STEM programs. I'm not certain about what it's like at the national level, but it's important and it's supported by our business community.
When we talk about our goals in terms of our students being college and career ready, this STEM program just aligns right up with that and puts our students in a position to be well suited for four-year university, two-year program, or a vocational program right here supporting our medical community.
That's right.
All right, we have another question that's been phoned in. I read in the paper today that the district wants to limit the public disclosure law. Why?
Well, that's inaccurate. That's not what
I would say, if anything, our intent is to maintain full transparency, and all the while supporting staff at levels where they can respond to the public records requests that we're seeing.
The request that we made to the legislature dealt with the unfunded mandate part of the act. We didn't ask for any exemptions from disclosure. It was exactly the opposite. It was, as Deana just explained, in order to be able to make disclosure and comply with the law, it's a complex process often. Just think in terms of what does a school district do? It deals with, in our case, 28,000 students, several thousand teachers and other employees, and when people make records requests, they're asking about typically those records on those people. Well, there are many laws that affect the privacy of those people. So when you make a records request, someone has to review the records, someone has to determine whether the disclosure we're about to make complies with the law. The way the law is written right now, we don't get compensated for all of the expenses that go into that process. So all we've asked the legislature to do is provide us with the mechanism to recoup our expenses during that process, not to prevent the process from going on.
I think that's a great description. It costs about, this year, just a rough estimate for us, a minimum of $70,000 is being spent. We're looking at having to hire an individual just to do records requests.
Yeah, and it's not coming from your traditional media. Our increases have gone, we've tripled our records requests in the last 3 years, and it's basically due to one or two self-styled activists that are using the system. And the initial law back in 1976 provided for 15 cents recoupment. Now you don't even have to get paper, so there's no money that comes back to recoup the costs at all.
All right. Believe it or not, we are just about out of time. Want to be sure to remind folks to vote by the end of day, February 14th. Really appreciate everyone's interest in this topic and appreciate folks joining us tonight. We look forward to another couple of months with our Superintendent Dr. Stowell at the helm, and look forward to a couple more shows. So do tune in again, and thank you so much for being with us here this evening.